Hello, my amazing artists. Welcome to another art with me, Miss Taub. This week, we are still talking about color families because we're still talking about the element of art, color. Remember, the elements of art are those ingredients that make up our art, and color is one of the most important ones. So, learning the different color families and creating art with those color families, it really helps you to understand the color wheel and where those colors are in relation to each other. So, let's review the things that we've been learning for the past few weeks. Color families are groups of colors that are related to each other on the color wheel. So, if you've got your color wheel, you might want to get it out because we're going to be talking about it again and using it for our artwork. The first color family that you should already know are the primary colors. The primary colors, red, blue, and yellow, make this pinwheel shape on the color wheel. They are the most important colors because they are the first colors, and primary means first. The first colors are so important because they create all the other colors on the color wheel. For example, the secondary colors, orange, green, and purple. This is what happens when you mix your primary colors together, and you should really be learning that and understanding that now that we've been talking about color for so long. The next color families we're reviewing are the warm colors. Remember, the warm colors are next to each other on the color wheel. So we've got yellow, orange, and red. Those colors remind us of warmer weather or the desert or the sun or lava. That can help you remember which ones are the warm colors. And remember, pink is technically a warm color too because it is a tint of the color red. A tint is what happens when we add white to make a color light. And of course, the cool colors. On the opposite side of the color wheel, we have the cool colors right next to each other. And the cool colors remind us of cooler things like water or land or mountains or trees or grass, right? So they're a really easy way to remember that the cool colors remind us of cooler weather. Now, the last color family that I'm going to mention are the neutral colors. The neutral colors, might not be able to find them on your color wheel, but they do exist on other color wheels. And those are the colors that remind us of nature: blacks, whites, grays, browns, and tans. Now, last week we created found object sculptures, and we stuck to one color family to create our found object sculpture. Hopefully, you had a ton of fun going on a scavenger hunt around your house to find the different color objects and putting them together in a mindful or creative way. Because this week you're going to be using the picture that you took of your sculpture to create something called a still life. What is a still life? A still life is a painting or a drawing of carefully arranged group of objects. That means the artist takes the objects and puts them in a mindful or creative way before then drawing their artwork. Here is a few examples of some well-known artists and the still lifes that they created. So it doesn't always have to be flowers or fruit, but lots of times with very well-known artists, they love to paint fruit or bowls or flowers. So if you wanted to change your found object sculpture and have more flowers or apples, you can go for it. But you are going to be using that sculpture that you create as your still life. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that by using shapes and lines. So let's take a look at a few of these still lifes before we keep going and start our artwork. This one over here, of Kathy Hildebrand's top performers, she does a lot of still lives with toys or objects or board games, and she really mixes all of her colors together and almost makes like these rainbow still lives. Vincent Van Gogh, he's a super duper famous artist. You may know him from Starry Night. He spent a lot of time painting sunflowers. He actually really loved sunflowers, and there were a bunch of them near the house where he lived. So he would actually create very well known still lives of these sunflowers. And then I found this one, and the reason I picked this one is because it's going to be very close to how we are going to be drawing our still lives. And that's because this artist only stuck with what colors? Only which color family would you say this artist uses in her work? If you said the cool colors, you would be right. She uses blues and greens and purples and a little bit of like a pinkish purple here too. So I thought that that was a perfect still life to show you because our still lives will also be sticking with a color family. If you don't want to stick with the color family that you did last week, you are welcome to change it, but it might be easier to add color if you have something to look at when you're adding color to your artwork. All right, let's get started on creating our found objects still lifes.
For this assignment, you will want to have the photo of your still life or your sculpture from last week and whatever you want to use to color. I'm also going to be using a Sharpie, a pencil, and an eraser. You'll see here that I'm actually working inside of my sketchbook, and for that reason it is a little bit cut off of the screen, so I'm sorry about that, but all I'm doing is really looking at the simple shapes of my objects. The star, the circles, the rectangles, the triangle, and I'm trying to draw it just as I see it in the picture of my sculpture. I want it to look as realistic as possible, so I start with simple shapes, but then I go in with more details, lots of lines and added shapes, and finally I start adding color. I'm using these water markers first, and you'll see it kind of blocks the color out before I take a water brush and I paint over it to make the color bleed a little bit. Once that dries, I then am going to use some crayon. Using different media like markers and crayon and color pencil and Sharpie, that's called a mixed media artwork. And actually, they're my favorite kind of artworks to make because I don't have a favorite type of medium. I like them all. You can use whatever type of materials you have at home, and you can add as much detail as you'd like as long as you are sticking to a color family. By looking at your artwork, I should know exactly which color family you used for your masterpiece. I cannot wait to see how you take your amazing color family sculptures and turn them into color family still lifes. Have fun, you guys, and I'll see you soon.